You're listening to the Wonderfully Bookish podcast, where we talk about all things bookish and wonderful. You can find the notes for this episode and all of the others at wonderfullybookish.co.uk/podcast. Hi there, how you doing? Welcome to a new episode of the Wonderfully Bookish podcast, where I talk to bloggers and authors and anyone who loves to read all about books. So if you're a bookworm, then this is the podcast for you. In this episode, I chat with Chloe Seager, who is the author of the young adult novel Editing Emma, and the sequel Fails of Emma Nash was published earlier this year. She studied English Lit and Drama in university, where she rediscovered her love of children's books. She now works with children's books full-time as a young adult and children's literary agent, which we kind of talk about a little bit in this episode. We discuss whether the worlds of writing and being an agent collide, and whether working in publishing affects her writing at all. We also talk about humour and why it's important to young people today, and it's kind of interesting to compare her views to Simon James Green, who is another comedy young adult writer that I interviewed a couple of episodes ago. So let's get straight into it. Here is Chloe Seager.
It's wonderfully bookish, whoa. All things books, let's start the show. Everything from classics to contemporary. Come and chat about books with me. If you're a reader of YA, grab a cuppa and just press play.
Hi.
Hello. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm pleased we can finally chat and you don't
Yes.
sound like a robot.
Me too. Right.
How are you?
I'm really good. Yeah, I've just bought a new computer and it's been stressful, but
Exciting. I thought I was going to have to buy a new phone the other day because I dropped it down the toilet
Oh, no.
when I was drunk. I wasn't half as drunk because that makes me sound. I don't even have glasses, but it's just carried on working.
Weird.
Mystery. I didn't even put it in any rice or anything.
Amazing.
I know.
Immortal
Weird.
phone.
It's sturdy. It's my Britney Spears phone case, clearly. It's
Yes, it must be.
Britney's always got my back. Brilliant.
So I'll go straight into it. I was talking to the last person that I spoke to was Simon James Green, and he mentioned you actually. So we talked about why it's important, like why he thinks funny books and humour in young adult books is important, especially now, where there's so much kind of crap going on in the entire world. Do you also agree that kind of humour in books is really important, especially for younger people?
Yeah, I think it's so important, and I think it's often really underrated how important it is, actually. I think, as a teenager especially, everything feels so serious, or at least it did for me. And, there is a lot of pressure on you as a young person. And I think I remember the day when I discovered that I could laugh at my own misfortunes and that actually made me feel better. And that it didn't just have to be other people laughing at me. I could laugh at myself.
I think that's something everyone needs to learn. Learn to take yourself less seriously and just laugh at yourself.
Definitely, like as an adult as well. I also think, for young people these days it's even worse. I think I look at some of the pressure they're under in terms of they've got to have about 1,000,001 things on their CV before they can apply for stuff. I think, especially girls, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on girls, I think, to be sort of everything. To be kind of look perfect and be perfect, to be clever and opinionated.
But not too opinionated or too clever.
Exactly. And I kind of just thought, God, you know what? Like, it's all right sometimes to be a mess and for things not to be perfect, and to try and put that in a funny way was what I wanted to do with Emma, because she's a mess most of the time. So
how much of Editing Emma was inspired by your own life as a teenager?
Oh, I mean, yeah, quite heavily. I was a bit of a mess. I mean, in a sense, me and Emma are quite different in that
Right.
this is going to make me sound really big-headed, but she's a sort of chronic underachiever,
Yeah.
whereas I was academically not. I was fine. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
just I,
Uh-huh.
and but she's always sort of, she tries her best, bless her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't always get there. But definitely in terms of my love life and my friendships,
Yeah.
certainly I could have those very messy moments.
Hmm.
I think it's probably Emma is sort of a culmination of all my like worst messiness and
Right.
worst fun put into, a whole just a term for Emma at a
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I think we've all had an Emma moment,
Yeah,
but she
definitely.
probably has about 10 a
Yeah.
day. So yeah, definitely inspired by me. I mean, I really did drop my phone in a bucket of vomit,
Oh no.
unfortunately. That did. And my friend really did fish it
Oh,
out for me.
well, good
So,
friend. Yeah.
really good friends. I know, can't believe we're still pals.
I don't think I would do that. I'm sorry.
I didn't think so either. And then after that, I threw up down his leg. Just
Uh, yeah, I can definitely see the similarities then. When I read it, one of my favorite book series, I kind of started reading it later than I think it's aimed at, but one of my favorite book series was the Georgia Nicholson books by Louise
Ah,
Renison. I was going to say,
Georgia.
as I read Emma, I thought of her a lot. Like, I kind of wondered how much of it was inspired by Louise Renison.
Oh, well, I take that as a big
Yeah,
compliment.
thought they were very kind of, the feel of them and the style of them were kind of all the things I really liked about Louise Renison's books. So
Yeah, and definitely was inspired by Louise
yeah,
Brunison. She was my goddess growing. I was obsessed with her.
yeah,
I was always the first one in the store to get the
yeah,
hardbacks. You can see the point where I started really obsessing over the series. It was book 4, I think.
right,
They all book 5. Like they started releasing
yeah,
hardbacks, and then my collection moved from paperback to hardback. I've got the whole 10
yeah,
books. Yeah, I was absolutely obsessed with her. I think she was probably one of the funniest people ever to live.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely inspired by her.
I started reading them a lot later. Like, I don't think I even started reading them until the last couple were coming out.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I was kind of like older teenager when I started them.
Funny because I started reading them when I was 14 and I carried on until I was about 18, which
Yeah.
is quite an age range for
Mm.
me. Yeah, the same. I knew 11-year-olds who were reading them. I knew 16-year-olds who were reading
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I feel like they're those kind of books where you can still just adore them no matter how old you are.
Yeah, definitely. She's just a really funny, relatable character. I don't think that's going to change whatever age you are.
And I think she's also the same where, like, where you said Emma has Emma moments like 15 times a day. Georgia is exactly the same. Like, Georgia is
Yeah.
just a walking disaster.
Georgia made me feel so much better about my own life.
Yeah.
Something terrible would happen at school and I'd just be like, you know what, Georgia knows my pain.
Yeah. What did you think of the film adaptation of those?
Oh, I didn't think they captured the humor very well. Without the humor, it's not like there's a lot that really happens in books like mine or like Louise Brenison. So if you don't have that comedy aspect,
Yeah.
I think it's because in the books you're inside her head, and that's what's
Uh-huh.
funny. And the film, obviously, you can't hear what she's thinking, so it wasn't. I didn't.
Yeah, and like, all of the friends have all these really weird in jokes, but it just doesn't work as a film. And yeah, I completely agree. Whether it was just kind of like they took all the funny parts out of it and kind of focused too much on all of like the angst, and
Yeah,
it just,
I know, and she was angsty, but she wasn't.
yeah.
She was actually quite relaxed and
And
hilarious
like
in a
in the
way.
books, I really love Jazz, and I feel like they just completely ruined Jazz in the film.
Yeah, they threw Jazz's character away, really, didn't
Mhm.
they? It wasn't great. I think they should have done it like Peep Show style. When
Oh,
you
yeah.
have. I was gonna say actually that was probably like weirdly an influence for me
Right.
because I was obsessed with Peep Show growing
Yeah.
up, and I'd never seen something on TV before where you had that much access into what these people were thinking, and the situations were so ridiculously awkward.
Yeah.
Even though they're like middle-aged men, and I was
Yeah.
14. Again, again, like, something's just relatable at any age.
Can you imagine editing Emma on TV or a film?
I don't know.
Or do you think it works better
Yeah,
as a book?
maybe. I think probably, as I said, just because of that access into her head. But I think if you did do it like where you could hear what she was thinking and retain her, then maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like with the Angus Thongs adaptation, isn't it? I just don't think it worked as well somehow. I think it would have to be in the hands of the right production company, someone with the right vision. It must be scary for authors giving their book over to be adapted by someone.
I always think that. Like, I always worry when one of my favourite books is going to be adapted because I'm just so terrified they're going to ruin it.
When you read the book again, you always picture that actress then, or that actor.
Yeah. And when I really like to imagine characters as I read it. Like, I get a full picture of how this character looks, and then as soon as there's a film and you see their casting, I can't remember what my original vision was. Like, it just kind of overrides it completely, and then I get really sad, like, oh, but I really liked my vision of them. They've ruined it.
Yeah, I know, me too. It's like how Hermione now is forever in my head Emma Watson.
Yeah.
I can't go back on that now. I can't remember what I used to think Hermione looked like.
See, but I've got to admit, I'm a ridiculously big Harry Potter nerd, but the books were also something I read a bit later. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I watched all the films when they came out. Like, I remember me and my sister went to see The Chamber of Secrets for like our 8th birthday, I think. But I didn't read the books until a lot later. Like, I literally finished the last book when I was finishing uni. So,
oh, really?
And it's like, it's so scary to admit because people are like, what? But you say you're a Harry Potter fan.
You can still be a Harry Potter fan. Yeah. Oh, so that's interesting. You would have been completely informed by Emma Watson.
Completely, yeah. Like, I've never had my own vision of the Harry Potter characters because I watched the films first. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I kind of wish it was the other way round, so I did have my own kind of vision, but...
Yeah, well, I feel like if it makes you feel better, Daniel Radcliffe pretty much matched up exactly mine. I don't know if that's true for other people, but...
I think it's crazy that tiny Daniel Radcliffe, when he's like 10... he looks like a human version of the original book covers. It's scary. Like, when you look at the illustrations on the book covers, Daniel Radcliffe is that illustration.
He is. Oh, my friend had a first edition of those Harry Potter books, and her mum gave it away to someone to borrow, and they never got it back. And now they're worth what? How much money?
I can't even remember. I remember looking it up, but my God. Oh, that's gutting. I remember I used to have this plastic Nimbus 2000. Like, it was a full-size Nimbus 2000, but just like a plastic one. And I have no idea what ever happened to it, and I'm so sad. I'd love to have my own Nimbus 2000 now. It's one of those things where it's just kind of, you love it as a child, and then you go through a phase of being like, no, I don't like that anymore. And then... get rid of all your stuff, and then a couple of years later really regret getting rid of it all.
I'm sad for your missing Nimbus 2000 as well. I'm sorry.
I'll have to look on eBay, see if anyone's selling one.
Yeah, we all do that. Like, go through a phase where you go through a phase where being really ruthless with your stuff, and then you want it back years later. That's my fear. I'm a hoarder.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah.
After the Nimbus 2000 trauma.
It scarred me for life. We went completely off on a tangent then. I don't know what Harry Potter has to do with anything that I had planned to discuss, but I'm always interested to ask authors this. Did you always want to write in the genre that you wrote in, or would you be open to trying different genres? Like, is contemporary your thing, or would you be open to other things too?
Well, I did try writing some other genres when I was a teenager, but I've always written like Louise Renison-y type stuff as well. And it just happened to be the first thing that I finished. So I think it's probably is the genre that was right, because I finished the whole book, and that was the first thing. Mostly I just start stuff and then don't finish in a kind of...
I'm so bad at that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. And it was the first thing I ever sort of... I finished it easily. It didn't feel like I was really forcing myself to keep going back to it. So that's why. I mean, I have this like quite a few awful like faux literary novels from my teenage years, which are really, really atrocious. If I saw them come into the inbox, I would reject them in about a second flat. But yeah, no, so I do have some very different stuff in a back drawer.
Yeah, I'm like that too, where you said it must kind of be the right thing if you end up finishing it. I've tried so many things where I try to put together really clever and complex plots and like there's plot twists and everything. And I always just get so bored with them halfway. Like I put so much thought into them right at the beginning that I never end up finishing them. But I've now got this one idea that I'm focusing on instead. And I'm trying to do NaNoWriMo this year. I'm aiming to do NaNoWriMo.
Oh, good idea.
And this idea at the moment is like entirely character based. Like there's hardly any deep plot, so I'm kind of feeling like it's going to be kind of like contemporary where it's mostly about the characters and a few things seem to happen. Like I feel like that's what a lot of contemporary is, where it's like focusing on the characters and then just things happen to the characters.
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. You plan less
Yeah.
maybe with contemporary, with a definitely with a thriller or something where you really need to plot it out.
You've got to kind of love to do something to find your genre.
Yeah, you've got to be really enjoying it. I mean, the funny thing is, I enjoy reading all kinds of genres. I
Yeah.
really have any one area that's my favorite area, apart from YA and children's generally.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the writing, I don't know, that was the one that just sort of came naturally.
Yeah.
I always advise authors, actually, as an agent, to start writing in the genre they want to continue in.
Right.
Because, well, A, because it can be hard to switch genres once you've been published in a genre, but B, because you have to love it and you have to want to keep writing books in that area.
Yeah.
So yeah, sounds like you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Experimenting with a few and then finding which one is right for you.
I'll have to see how it goes this November with NaNoWriMo. I'll have to see how far I get through it, because at the moment I'm not massively confident. I'll have to see.
I've always thought it seemed quite intimidating
Yeah.
to me. What is the idea again? So it's how much to write in a month?
50,000 in a month. So it's like 1,000, about 1,700 a day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So
That's a lot.
I'll see how far I get. Luckily, I work from home, so like if I have a spare half an hour, I can just really quickly bash some words out. But
yeah,
I'll have to see
that's
how
good.
that goes.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck with it.
Thanks.
Can you skip it for a day and then write double the next day?
Yeah, you can. It's just the only goal is the 50,000 words in the month. Like you can skip half the month if you want to. And then get it all done in like 2 weeks. I've seen some people do it all in 2 weeks, and I have absolutely no idea how they do that.
Funny, yeah. I mean, I have days where I'll write 5,000 words, and I have days where I will write a sentence and nothing will come out. So I think it's harder once you have an actual deadline and people are actually expecting stuff from you. So I wrote the first book really quickly in like 10 weeks, I think.
Jeez, yeah.
And the second book, then, as soon as I had a deadline,
Yeah.
it took me a year to get a draft out.
God.
It just felt so pressurizing.
Yeah.
And then actually I decided I hated it, and I basically rewrote the whole thing in about 2 months again.
Man.
And then like just remembered to have fun with it. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard with deadlines.
I can imagine that. I don't do deadlines very well at all. Like all the way through uni, I just struggled with deadlines. Like I would end up doing like a 3,000 word essay the night before.
Yeah, me too. But it's more intense when I feel it's even more scary when you're being paid for it.
Yeah.
I have to send this in.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same as you.
What's it like trying to manage like being an agent as well as an author? How do you kind of separate the two things? Because I feel like if I did both, I would kind of struggle to separate reading other people's things and then also trying to work on my own.
Yeah, well, I don't, maybe it's because I don't really represent any funny YA authors at the moment that feel very separate. Although I think even if I did, because I would really like to represent some more funny YA.
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know, they feel very different in a way. In another way, yeah, it does all kind of blend together. You're right, it can feel a little bit close because I spend the day reading and then I come home and I write in the same
Yeah.
genre. So yeah, I mean, but I think it just makes sense. You know, I love YA books, so
Yeah.
kind of doesn't matter that what I'm doing at home and at work feels quite similar because I love it.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to be doing anything else. But yeah, time wise, it's definitely a strain. But I'm kind of lucky that I can write quite quickly when I get down to
Yeah.
it. Well, apart from the novel that took me a year, but then when I rewrote it, it didn't take me that long.
Yeah.
But because I think some people are maybe a bit more of a perfectionist than me.
Right.
I think they might struggle.
I think that's my problem.
Yeah, you just have to get it on the page.
Yeah, I tend to write like one paragraph and then read it and then write another paragraph and then read it, and it's just the worst habit.
Yeah, no, that will slow you
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I'm the same. When you come back to a document, do you have to read it from the beginning?
Yes.
I do.
I can't just pick up like halfway.
Yeah, no, me neither. Actually, though, having said that, I can just write scenes like in the middle or the end of the book without having. I don't have to write in
No.
order.
I haven't really written anything that long yet. Like it's all kind of been shorter things, so I don't really know yet. I guess I'll find out how I work. Yeah.
Find out during NaNoWriMo.
So your latest book also is in the world of Emma. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so in book one, I guess she's kind of got this disastrous mission to find a new boyfriend, and in book two, she has another disastrous mission to find a new best friend. It kind of inspired by that time of life when, I don't know, I mean, I didn't have that many friends at school. I was like Emma, I had a few friends.
Yeah, I was the same.
And, yeah, a few really good friends. And then sometimes you do just reach a point where you think, oh my God, like one person's on holiday, one person is doing this, one person's in this new relationship, and suddenly you just feel very stranded.
Yeah.
So it was kind of inspired by that. Also, I think inspired by when I started my school, I did a lot of friend hopping before finding the right friendship group.
Right.
And actually, I've always wondered, like, because obviously that was kind of at the beginning of school,
Yeah.
and as school went on, it gets progressively more difficult if you want to make a new friend once all the settled. So I kind of imagined, well, what would that be like if you were in sixth form and you suddenly decided you wanted to make some new friends?
Yeah.
It can be quite challenging.
Yeah, I definitely need to read it. I read the first one, God, I think like a year ago now. I read it so long ago. But I still haven't got a copy of the second one yet. It's on my list of ones I really need to get. So
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Well, it's very similar mission, except, you know, replacing the boyfriend thing with a friend thing.
my final question is, I don't know if you can say, but what are your future plans, and what are you working on? Anything exciting?
I'm working on something else. So it's a teen again, although slightly younger. I think we call it a clean teen, as it were.
Right.
And it's a reimagining of a classic.
Okay.
Writing.
Intriguing.
But I don't know if that will work out yet. So if not, come up with other ideas. But yes, that's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. Well, it sounds intriguing.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, very excited. Good luck with your project too.
Thank you.
NaNoWriMo, which sounds terrifying and intense, and I'll probably never do it.
I don't know if I'll just fizzle out halfway, but I'll have to see. I'll be tweeting my progress, so
Amazing. Oh, well, good luck. And
it's been really nice to have a chat.
Yeah, really nice to chat with you. Thanks so much for having me on.
That's all right.
And oh my God, together with all our technology fails, we have managed to
we have got there in the end. Yeah, celebrate.
Yay.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can find all of the information from this episode, including all of the things that we talked about and a little bit about today's guest, in the show notes, and they'll be at wonderfullybookish.co.uk/podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and the links for those will also be in the show notes. And finally, if you want to chat, or you've just got a burning question you want to ask about this episode or any of the others, you can pop me an email at podcast@wonderfullybookish.co.uk. See you next time.